Hello, 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 and welcome back to IVF in Your Pocket, your waiting room companion. Now, I know all of you are left in suspense about who we have on today. I'm so excited to share that we have with us today the Egg Whisperer herself, the host of the amazing Egg Whisper Show podcast, which you have to check out. Dr. Aimee talking about how to improve egg quality.
Aw, thank you,
Aimee,
Alexandra.
of course, I don't think you need an introduction, but if you can just tell us a bit about yourself, that would be great.
Absolutely. I'm a fertility doc here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been practiced now for way too long, not too long. I love what I do. It feels like I just started yesterday, but um, I started my practice in 2008 here in the San Francisco Bay Area. So it's been
Wow,
16 years in this office, and I started my training in 2005. So it's been over 20 years now.
that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
you have such an amazing wealth of experience.
Yeah.
And I know your thing is eggs.
Yeah.
So I'd love to hear, and I know our listeners would love to hear more about your tips about how to improve egg quality.
Absolutely. So we use the word improve, but I think that it's important to also use the word support
Mm,
because there's only so much we can control. At the end of the day, we can do all of these things and nothing might change. And that's
yes.
okay. Because I make these suggestions and I hear people like they comment on Instagram and they say, well, I did that and it didn't help me. And I think that's the message that I want to make sure people understand that supporting your egg quality is something that we can try. In some patients, it might improve things and they'll see a difference, but not in everybody. And so, if you don't see the improvements that I hope patients will see, it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you or they didn't work for you. Well, it kind of does mean it didn't work for you, but it also means that at the end of the day, there's only so much we can control.
Absolutely.
So I'm going to imagine me standing up if you're listening to this podcast. Just start with your head. So improving equality is also about thinking about your whole body. So like your thoughts and your mind. So your mental health, how you sleep. So I'm pointing to my eyes, how you eat. So eating healthy is really important. Your heart, like emotionally, how are you doing with yourself and your relationships? You know, if you're struggling with your relationship, take time out to make sure that
Mhm.
relationship is a good one, that you're making a baby with the right person. Now I'm pointing to my stomach. So in my stomach, again, it's food. I just went there. Now the uterus. And what I mean by that is really nurture your uterus and think about like what are the things that you can do to help your uterus. And one of those things are I'm pointing to my legs, exercising. So improving blood flow can help both your uterus and your ovaries. So um, I'm also now showing you my really tiny, measly muscles, and those are my biceps, so strength training. So, those are the things that I think about when I talk to patients. I just point to the different parts of the body and say, let's work on all those things and see what we can do to be as healthy as we can be, because we can control that. Also, like what you put on your skin, for example. So, like, there are things in the environment that can impact our egg quality. So, most people know that like plastics in our environment, there's microplastics everywhere. It's almost impossible to
Yeah.
not be exposed to microplastics from the clothes that you wear to the lotion that you use. But just kind of look at the products that you're using and kind of see if there are little switches that you can make that can maybe decrease your microplastic load. So now thinking about supplementation. So OVA NAD is something that I think can be really impactful. So I put everyone on it at least 30 days before they start their IVF cycle with me, as well as CoQ10. So I have patients that like they send me these spreadsheets. They're like 3 pages long, and it's like a full-time job just to even like organize their supplements and then to take them. That's just so many pills. And if you think
Yeah.
about all those pills, what are those pills in? They're in plastic.
Yeah.
So you're also increasing your plastic load by
Mm.
taking so many. So I tell patients like make it really simple, maybe like 3 or 4 things, but don't take a supplement stack that you have to set 10 different reminders throughout the day and takes you an hour to prepare the week. So I tend to think that less is more when it comes to supplements. Then there's a drug that I've been using in my practice now for the last almost 4 years. It's called rapamycin.
Yeah,
So
heard it.
my average patient age is about 42 and a half. So if you're 32 coming to me, I say that you're in daycare. It's not an insult. And I don't call like my older, I mean, they're not older to me. They're young at 42. I don't say
That's
anything
great.
about what they're in, but my average patient is like, they're working hard to make these embryos. So I
Yeah.
want to make sure that the IVF cycle that they're doing is going to be as productive as possible. So Rapamycin is an anti-aging drug. It's FDA approved for something totally different, which is the prevention of organ transplant rejection. It's been FDA approved since 1999, so lots of research on it. There are case reports of people getting pregnant on it with healthy babies. Not that I'm recommending that people take it while trying to get pregnant. What I do think is that taking it for at least 30 days before you start stim can potentially help improve your egg quality. I think it's a remarkable drug. I would call it a miracle drug for some
Wow.
patients. I mean, I've had patients come to me for their 10th, 11th cycles, 44, 45 years old, and make their first euploid with me
Wow.
after a course of rapamycin. Does that happen for everyone? No. But I think it's something that could potentially help. I also recommend priming with things like peptides and growth hormone. And then there's one also very powerful peptide called a GLP-1. So if a patient has a BMI over 23, I'll often bring that up to see if she's open to taking it to help decrease overall body inflammation. And then there's also red light therapy that I have patients use. So basically getting a red light pad or a belt, something like that. You can find ones that are not super expensive on Amazon. I
Mm.
tell patients to use it 20 to 30 minutes per day. The other thing that I'm known for is a procedure called ovarian PRP. So this is a procedure that's an egg retrieval-like procedure experience. Basically, a needle is passed through the wall of the vagina, and instead of extracting eggs from the follicles, we infuse each ovary with platelet-rich plasma. So I do that 2 to 4 weeks before stim start. But that's a procedure. The easy lift things are like that you can do on your own. Red light supplements,
Yes. Yeah, totally.
peptides you can buy online. So there's a website, Ageless RX. I have no business relationship with the company, so I have patients get their peptides from there. You can also do NAD injections and NAD infusions. So these are like simple, relatively simple things that you can
Yes.
do that are not very expensive that might improve your chances in your next cycle. But to keep it simple, just think about eating, sleeping, and exercising. So I don't think enough attention is paid to the simple things that you can do. And a lot of clinics, unfortunately, they tell patients like, don't exercise, don't lift
Hmm.
weights. And I'm the
Right.
opposite. I'm
Oh,
like, high impact, high intensity exercise is healthy for you.
right.
It is good for you. You don't have to feel like, or you don't need to be a couch potato as you're going through treatment. Because if you do these hormones, you'll stack weight and then you won't feel good about yourself. It'll affect your relationships, your emotional well being. It'll increase anxiety, depression. And we don't want that.
No, we don't. What I love about what you're saying is that it's so accessible.
Right. These things
Yeah.
are accessible and you don't need a doctor's permission.
Yeah.
So patients sometimes feel like they need their doctor's permission. They'll ask about these things and the doctor won't give a stamp of approval and then they'll feel like they shouldn't take them. And a lot of doctors don't give advice about supplements or other things. They just feel like it is going to be what it is and there's nothing that we can do to support egg quality. And I don't think that's true. I think you
Hmm.
can.
Hmm. That's great. So if you were going to summarize like the most important, if you can say like the top five things, what would be your top five things to
I
improve
mean,
egg
the
quality?
top five things that I would say would be NAD, rapamycin, um, having a healthy BMI through eating, sleeping. So
Hmm.
sleep is important for your BMI because if you don't sleep well, it increases insulin resistance. It's really hard to maintain your weight. And exercising. Okay, and I get a fifth one. Ooh, what would the fifth one be? The fifth one, the fifth one. Ooh, that's a hard one. I don't know that I can come up with a fifth one. That's super easy because then we're talking about like rapamycin, or not rapamycin, but ovarian PRP, which is a procedure and it's not necessarily accessible for everybody.
Okay, but those four are something that really anyone can do.
Right.
And you,
Absolutely.
you can start before your IVF journey.
Yes, absolutely. And even trying to conceive journey. I mean, I've had patients do ovarian PRP with me, not because they want to do IVF, but also because they want to try naturally. And it has improved things and they've gotten pregnant naturally when they were doing IVF before and were not
Mm,
successful.
mm, great. Well, Dr. Aimee, I mean, as it's just great to have you on the show with your invaluable information and tips. Thank you so much for sharing more about how to support egg quality. I know our listeners really appreciate it.
Oh, I came up with a fifth one, Alexandra.
Yes, please.
EDM music. I really believe in it. I think happy eggs are healthier eggs. And if you know me, I had a patient who called me Dr. Diplo. And I was like, you are now my favorite patient. So EDM is the fifth one. So listen
EDM.
to music.
Wow,
Yeah.
never would have thought that. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
All right, that concludes our episode for today. If you would like to work with me, you can find more on my website, alexandragarystock.com, or if you have a question about today's episode or want to add more about ways you think you can support egg quality that have been helpful to you, you can send me an email, alexandrapsychotherapy@gmail. You can find Dr. Aimee's bio in the show notes, and of course check out her amazing Egg Whisperer show for more information from her. Until next time, remember, you are not alone.